So today our topic is examination of pulse. So why it is so much important? Because in every day-to-day practice you have to measure the pulse of the patient. If you are in OPD, you must examine the radial pulse of the patient. If you are in the ward giving round, then also you must examine. And if you are presenting a long case for the final year exam also, in the general survey you have to examine pulse. And it is taught in the physiology about examination of radial pulse, but my approach will be a bit more clinical. So let's first come into the definition of the pulse. So what is pulse? Pulse is the dilation, elongation and recoil of the arterial wall, which is passively produced by the dilation and contraction of the aorta due to the systole and diastole produced by the left ventricle. So let me explain the definition. That means that it is the elongation, dilation and recoil. Means it is elongating, the arterial walls are elongating, dilating, and it is recoiling back to its original position due to the elastic property of the great arteries. Now it is a transmitted waveform from where it is produced, the dilation and contraction of the aorta. The dilation and recoil of the aorta, as you have read in physiology, that aorta and other great arteries are Winchester vessels. Means during the ventricular systole, it enlarges in size, so the SPP does not rises to that much amount. It rises up to 120 millimeter of mercury, but then it recoils back slowly, and so that the diastolic PP is not zero. It's not zero. It's 80 millimeter of mercury because it is recoiling back and sending back the blood. So this is the definition of the pulse. So I have a patient with me, and I am not wearing mask, but you must wear mask in these cold times due to recording issues. I am not wearing a mask. But our topic is today examination of radial pulse. Now you will be thinking, why the examination of radial pulse? Why only radial pulse? There are many other peripheral pulses like radial pulse, arterial dorsalis brevis, popliteal pulse, and here the femoral pulse. But as you can see that this radial pulse is very much accessible. Very much accessible. It is near my hand, and you don't have to expose the patient. If you need to see the femoral pulse, you need to open his pants, and it could be privacy issues may be there. But in day-to-day basis, most accessible part is the radial part, and you can feel the pulsation of the radial artery very much prominent because there is a bone behind the artery. If you give pressure on it, then you can feel the pulsation. So at first, how to feel a pulse? I have given the definition of the pulse. Now, how to feel? See, these are three fingers. ये उंगलियों का खेल है. My this finger, this is the proximal finger, this is the middle finger, and this is the distal finger. From this side, proximal, middle, and distal. Now with three fingers, see how I am feeling it. First, make the hand slightly flexed and pronate. हाथ with the make the patient comfortable. You must have sanitized your hand, and then with these three fingers like this. The distal finger will control the pressure incoming. The middle finger is the main finger that will feel the pulse, and the proximal finger will obliterate the volume of blood coming from the deep and superficial arches because there could be backflow. So the distal finger stops the backflow of the blood. The middle finger feels the pulse, and the distal finger adjusts the pressure. So first thing what you need to see in a pulse is the rate. So I am going to check the rate like this. The distal finger in this, the proximal finger in this part has no role. Let's check. So you have to see the pulse for at least 1 minute. For 1 minute, and let's start. So I have felt the pulse for 30 seconds because due to the video issues it would be more longer. But you must feel the pulse for 1 minute. You must in the physiology exam also and in day-to-day practice also do make your sense that you can
see it for 30 seconds and multiply it by 2, but ideally you must see it for complete 1 minute, because there may be some arrhythmic changes. Sometimes the beat may be fast, sometimes it may be irregular, so you must examine for 1 minute. So I have seen his pulse to be 74 beats per minute. Now I have to see the rhythm. Same, I have read the pulse, now I am seeing the rhythm. At least for 10 to 20 seconds you need to feel the rhythm. So I am seeing his rhythm is regular almost, and in the rate I have not mentioned, the rate could be fast. What is the normal range of pulse? That is 60 to 100. His was 74 per minute, so it's in the normal range. Now below 60 it's called bradycardia. But see, if you see a young fit male patient or a female or any athlete, so they can have physiological bradycardia, means they're due to in some athletes or gym workers doing gym or doing high physical activity, their heart is so much hypertrophic that it would adjust in low pulse rate only, and the vagal tone is high, so the heart rate is low and the pulse is also low, so it is normal. But in a very old age patient, if our physical fitness is not so much good, then you can suspect something wrong is there. And above 100 is above 100 is tachycardia. Tachycardia means above 100 per minute. So tachycardia mainly occurs in after if he is doing exercise, so you must make him comfortable and check the pulse. And tachycardia also occurs in fever. One question is asked with how much 1 degree Celsius rise, how much is the pulse rising? With 1 degree Celsius rise in temperature, there is 10 beats per minute rise in pulse. But in some cases, in fever, the increase that should be occurring, means if there is the normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, it rises to 39 degrees Celsius, but the normal pulse was 80 per minute, but it is not rising to 100, it is only 90. So this is called relative bradycardia, and relative bradycardia is seen in typhoid fever, it is seen in typhoid fever. And rest of things is okay. In physiological, mainly very much tachycardia is there. There could be any kind of arrhythmias. Arrhythmias are a leading cause of tachycardia. So this rate is over. Now coming to rhythm, I have measured. It's regularly regular. You have to mention it. Regularly regular. He is a normal patient, so his pulse is regularly regular. In some cases, if you are measuring the pulse of a neonate, it's regularly irregular. It is physiological. Means regularly means regularly there is changes in the pulse rate. Means sometimes it is 90, sometimes it is 110, again 190, again 110. So regularly irregular. Irregularly irregular is also there. That is seen in the cases of arrhythmias, any kind of arrhythmias. So now in the next step, we need to measure the volume of the pulse. So volume of the pulse, see the distal finger I have obliterated, and the proximal finger also I am placing it over here, and I am seeing the movement of the middle finger and feeling with the middle finger the volume. His volume is more or less normal. When you can see low volume pulse, in cases of hypovolemic shock, you can see low volume pulse, that is a patient has come after trauma and has a history of huge bleeding loss, and there could be the volume could be so much low that you cannot even feel the pulse, and the volume could be high in cases of thyrotoxicosis, as you know that it has cardiac effect and the volume becomes high output, so the volume also increases and it is a high output volume, means the volume would be high and low. I have told in hypovolemic shock mainly, and in some cases of arrhythmia and cases of heart failure also the volume could be low. Now I need to see the character of the pulse. Character, as you know that there is in the systole there is rise, then there is a dicrotic notch, and there is again a bit of rise and there is fall. So I need to see the character. I am not getting any graph, so I need to feel the character with hands only. I would say some of the anomalies in the character of the pulse. So more or less his pulse is there is a dicrotic notch. The important anomalous finding is that of the water hammer pulse. Water hammer pulse mainly occurs in aortic regurgitation. Aortic regurgitation means the aortic valve is incompetent. So when the heart pumps from the aorta, the blood will flow. But as it is incompetent, it is not closing properly. So the blood will again fall back. Means there will be steep rise and steep fall. So if I feel that there is a steep rise and steep fall in between the pulse, so what I will do, I will raise his hand over the head, like straight, and then again I will feel the pulse. In cases of aortic regurgitation, in this case only I will feel the classical water hammer pulse, because see, the blood is flowing due to the gravity into the heart, and the valve is incompetent, so it will flow into the left ventricle. And due to Starling's law, as you know, that the left ventricle muscle will elongate and will cause more contraction. So there will be steep rise and there will be a steep fall. So this is called water hammer pulse, like this hammering movement. So this is called water hammer pulse. Then there is a pulsus paradoxus. That means it happens normally in physiology also, that in cases of inspiration, the volume of the pulse is less. And in case of expiration, the volume is slightly bit higher. So why it is happening, I am saying, because during inspiration, the right atrial inflow that is coming into the right ventricle is more, and that in the left ventricle is less, because in the left ventricle it is in the lung field, in the pulmonary artery and the capillaries it is accumulating. But in case of the right ventricle, as you know that the venous return increases in inspiration. So in the right ventricle also the blood will be more, and the left ventricle the blood will be less. So what the ventricular septum will be bulged towards the left ventricle. So see, it is the normal position and it is getting bulged like this. Like this the bulge is there, and so the volume in the left ventricle is decreasing. This decrease, so the volume in the left ventricle is decreasing. When it will contract into the systole, the volume of blood that is outflowing will also decrease, and you will get a less volume of pulse. Now this is normally physiological, you can't feel it, there is not much difference. But in case of constrictive pericarditis or pericardial effusion, the bulging is much more, the volume is much more less, and you can even not feel the pulse also. So this is another anomaly of the pulse. Another, there is pulsus bispherians, means there is steep rise, steep fall, then again steep rise, then again fall. It is seen in aortic stenosis, but you can't feel it in the pulse. You need a graph with that is recording the pulse. Then in the graph only you can see that. These are the three anomalies I want to say, and they ask in the physio exam also, and you need to know for the clinical knowledge also. Now I have checked what I have checked: rate, rhythm, volume, character. Now I will go to the radio-radial delay. Is there any radio-radial delay or not? So what I have to do, that simultaneously I have to palpate both the pulses. I will take in both the hands, I will palpate. And I have to see that if both the pulses are coming at same time or not. So I have checked his both pulses, it is at the same time only. So when you can get a radio-radial delay, mainly it is used to check the radiofemoral delay, but in practical purpose and in field you can't check it. Only if you suspect, then only check it, but rest of that you can check the radio-radial delay. So in cases of preductal, a type of, in a preductal coarctation of aorta. What is coarctation of aorta? That means constriction. Coarctation of aorta means constriction, like this. It is compared with a maiden waist, like this. There is a constriction and again dilation. So in cases of coarctation of aorta, if there is constriction of the artery, then the blood flowing to the other artery, because here it is coming from the radial artery, brachial artery. So if there is any coarctation in between there, so here there will be delay, because there is constriction, that blood will take more time to flow. But it is ideal to measure the radiofemoral delay, because the postductal variety is more, means after the ductus arteriosus. So in the radius you will get the pulses will be more, and here the pulses will come in a delay, means simultaneously it won't go over it. And if you measure both the BPs also, of the lower limb and the upper limb also, you will get a lesser decay in the lower limb because the coarctation of aorta is obstructing the blood flow, and here you will get a higher decay. Now the last point you need to check is the condition of the artery. So how do you check the condition of the artery? See, 3 fingers are there. Now you need to roll it over the bone. In normal cases, I can't feel anything because the arterial wall is too much elastic and there is no hardness, so I can't feel anything. This is normal. But if you feel a cord-like structure or a wire-like structure, then it means there is atherosclerosis, because atherosclerosis makes the wall of the artery hard. So in normal cases, in before 60 years, generally you can't find anything cord-like. He is a healthy person of maybe 18-19 years. So I can't feel anything hard or anything unnatural. So this is very much normal. So let me summarize in the radial pulse examination. What you have to see first is the rate, how much beats per minute, like this. You have to check the rate. Then the rhythm, like this only, you have to check the rhythm. It is regularly regular, then it is normal. Then the volume of the pulse, obstructing both the artery and seeing the feeling by the middle finger. Then the character is difficult to elicit, as I have said. Only water hammer pulse you can elicit by taking out the finger hand above. Then the radio-radial delay, if there is anything radio-radial delay, and at the last the character, the condition of the artery, radial artery. So I think this is good for today to end the short class on radial pulse. Thank you, and I will be back with BP in the next session.